Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is going to be my October and November book haul. I think rather than doing the overly repetitive monthly book hauls, I'm going to give it a shot doing seasonal book hauls. So basically I'll do a book haul every 3 months or so. So this one is for October and November, the next one will be for December, January and February, and so on and so forth. First up is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is a freaking beast. Look at it. It is huge. I debated taking it with me to Paris, but I was like, no, I probably would have put my back out carrying this around Paris. I genuinely cannot believe that I actually have an arc of this. Thank you so much to Bloomsbury. I was not expecting to get one. I literally screamed the house down when I opened the post and saw this. I mean, it should have been a clue by how heavy it was. In the world of the book, the House of Berethnet has ruled Innis for 1,000 years. Queen Sabran IX is still unwed and she must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are at her door. Ede is an outsider at court, though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting. She is loyal to a hidden society of mages and she keeps an eye on Queen Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Then we head across the Dark Sea and we have Tane. I'm fairly sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. She has been training her entire life to be a dragon rider. Unfortunately, she is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West are refusing to parley and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. Dragons. Samantha's doing dragons. It's going to be epic, honestly. This is literally like my baby. I'm scared to break it. I don't want to damage it. No one else is allowed to touch it. No one. Next up is Damsel by Alana K. Arnold. This one is all about a prince who slays a dragon and rescues a damsel in distress. It is all part of a rite that has existed as long as anyone can remember, that every would-be king has to do when they come of age. But when Amma wakes up in the arms of Prince Emery, she knows none of this. She also has no memory of what came before or her time in the dragon's lair. All she knows is what the prince tells her about her rescue and her destiny to sit beside him on a throne, and he brings her back to his kingdom. She is hailed as the new princess and she is welcomed at court. But when night falls, she realises not all is as it seems, and there is more to the legend of the dragons and the damsels than anyone knows. This was a surprise from Harper 360. I wasn't expecting to get it. I didn't manage to pick one up at Yalk. However, I have heard some mixed things from the people who did get one at Yalk and have read it. There have been certain trigger warnings and certain things mentioned about this book that kind of have me curious about how I'm going to get on with this book, but I guess we'll see. Next up is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is the sequel to Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. We focus on Felicity. It is a year after her whirlwind grand tour with her brother Monty, and Felicity has returned to England with 2 goals in mind. Number 1 is to avoid the marriage proposal of a love-struck suitor from Edinburgh, and number 2 is to enroll in medical school. Unfortunately, the administrators see men as the sole guardians of science. Luckily for Felicity, an opportunity arises when a doctor she idolises turns out to be marrying an old friend of hers in Germany. Felicity believes that if she can meet this man, her future will change, but she has no money to make the trip. Luckily, a mysterious young woman is happy to pay Felicity's way as long as she can accompany her on the trip disguised as her maid. Next up is The Summoner's Handbook. This goes alongside The Summoner's Trilogy by Tara Matheru. As you guys know, the Summoner series is packed full of characters, both human and supernatural, and in this book, those characters come to life through artwork, maps, detailed origin stories, and descriptions, and we have a never-before-seen entry in James Baker's journal. As you guys know, I love this series, I love the world of the book, I love the characters, and I'm excited to get to read this. This was a surprise from the publisher. Thank you guys so much. I wasn't expecting it. I got super excited when I opened it. I am excited to get to have a proper look through this, and I feel like it's going to be a really great addition to the series. Next up is Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. I feel like I don't particularly need to explain Six of Crows, but it's about a group of misfits, some with criminal tendencies, and they basically go on this giant heist. It is set in the world of the Grisha, but it's a separate duology. Kaz is our main character. He's morally grey. We have Nina, the Heartrender, Jesper, the Sharpshooter, Wylan. We have Inej, who is the Wraith, and we have Matthias, who is a Fjordan witch hunter. And they all go on this huge heist to break into this super dangerous prison to free someone. This, my friends, is the collector's edition of Six of Crows. I think you all knew this was in my possession as soon as it came out. The cover is so gorgeous. So gorgeous. It's got red sprayed edges. The map is red now. And at the back we have the artwork that you guys might remember from those completely freaking gorgeous playing cards that Lee had on one of her book signing tours. I only have Matthias. How I wish I could have collected all of them. Next up is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I am not going to say a word about this because I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't read it yet, but this is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer. I have been super excited for this. It's one of my most anticipated reads. Strange the Dreamer left me wanting, needing more. This is the sequel we have all been waiting for, and I'm so excited to finally have my hands on it, and it has fancy orange sprayed edges. Next up is Dear Evan Hansen. This is the book of the musical that's on Broadway. It's all about Evan. He ends up writing this letter that he has to write to himself because it's what his therapist told him to do. He has a few run-ins with his fellow student Connor. Connor kind of ends up taking his letter and signing his cast, and then when Connor dies, he commits suicide. Connor's parents kind of think that he and Evan were like best friends, and basically Evan digs himself a giant hole. Mostly because he goes along with the whole thing even though he knows it's a bad idea. Next up is Soulbinder by Sebastian de Castel. This is the 4th book in this Spellslinger series. This series is about Kellen and his murderous squirrel cat Rikus, and in this particular installment, they are searching for a mythical monastery known as Ebony Abbey. It is a place that outsiders can never find, and Kellen is desperate to find it because the monks there apparently know more about Shadow Black than anyone else. Like, you know, how to cure it, which is something he's particularly interested in. But Kellen and Rikus are separated for the first time. Kellen has to face the world on his own, and he ventures deeper into shadow magic than he ever has before. Not sure if I've mentioned how much I love this series before, but I am so excited for book 4. It is literally such a cracking series. If you haven't read it already, you should check it out. Next up is Mad Love. As far as I'm aware, this is all about the Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship / romance. Harley is my favourite DC villain, okay? I'm not gonna lie, so of course I had to say yes to reviewing this. Thank you so much to Titan for sending it to me. I'm excited to dive into Harley Quinn's origins and find out how she met the Joker, how their romance developed, how their relationship came about, and all of that, which is all in this. The Dark Vault by V.E. Schwab. This is the bind-up of the Archived series. It has been collected into one volume. It is 2 books, The Archived and The Unbound, and in the world of this book, the dead are called histories, and they are housed within the archive. Our main character is Mackenzie. She was brought there once by her grandfather when she was determined to prove herself, but now she has grown into a fearless keeper. As a keeper, her main job is to stop histories, often violent ones, from waking up and getting out. The Map of Days by Ransom Riggs. This is the 4th book in the Miss Peregrine series. Jacob is now back in Florida, but Miss Peregrine and the other Peculiars are with him. They're also doing their very, very best to blend in. But carefree days of beach visits and normaling lessons come to an abrupt end when they make a discovery. That discovery is a subterranean bunker owned by his grandfather Abe. And in that bunker they find clues to Abe's double life as a peculiar operative. There are secrets, and Jacob starts to learn about the legacy that he has inherited. We're going full colour, guys. We are going full colour. Gone are the black and white photos. Now we have full colour ones. Honestly, I thought the trilogy was done, and then it turned out they were doing a 4th book, and I can't say I'm mad about it because I loved the original trilogy. I thought it was a really different way of storytelling, mixing in the photos with the story. Although I do feel like I'm mildly going to miss the creepy vibe that the black and white photos gave off. Next up is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I am not even going to touch the synopsis for this because spoilers, and it is the final book in the Throne of Glass series about Selena Sardothian, who became an assassin. There's been witches, there's been dragons, there's been magic, there's been fairies, and we've had lots of action and tension and suspense and blood, and we have come a long way to get to this point, you guys. We have come a long way. But I am intrigued to see how this is all gonna finally wrap up. Next up is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. In this book, every millennium the pieces of the Scroll of 1,000 Prayers are hunted down, because if you possess all of them, you can summon the great Kami dragon and he will grant you one wish. Yumiko is our main character. She is a half kitsune, and she finds this little legend out shortly before the temple that she spent her entire life growing up in is burned to the ground and everyone in it's killed by demons searching for the piece of the scroll that she manages to escape with, and during her escape she bumps straight into Tatsumi. He is a mysterious young samurai who is part of the Shadow Clan, also known as the Demon Slayer, and he basically hunts down people like Yumiko. He's under orders to retrieve the scroll and kill anyone who gets in his way, but Yumiko manages to conceal the fact that she has part of the scroll and teams up with him in order for him to protect her so she can get to the place she needs to go to find out how to get to the temple that has another piece of the scroll. yeah, this is getting complicated. Next up is The Mortal Word by Genevieve Cogman. This is the latest book in the Invisible Library series. In this one, we have a top secret summit between the warring dragons and the Fae, but things turn slightly awkward when one of the key diplomats gets stabbed. Irene, being a librarian, is obviously a neutral party and she is summoned to investigate. So she heads off to 1890s Paris with Kai and Detective Vale. The peace talks are understandably fracturing and she needs to get to the bottom of it before the peace talks go up in flames. Probably quite literally, because dragons. Suspicions are flying and it's not long before Irene finds herself in the seedy underworld of Paris, on the trail of the Blood Countess, a notoriously warlike fae. But the evidence against the Blood Countess is purely circumstantial. Could the killer be a member of the library? The Dark Days Deceit by Alison Goodman. This is the third and final book in the Dark Days Club trilogy. I can't believe it's coming to an end. I'm not ready. I am not ready. I mean, at the same time, I really want to find out how it's going to end and what's going to happen next, but on the other hand, I don't want it to be over. Our main character, Lady Helen, is preparing for her wedding, but she's not entirely focused on it. Her focus is with the Dark Days Club, mostly because time's running out to find the answers they need to defeat the Great Deceiver. Not to mention she and Carsten are slightly struggling to control their new dyad bond, and you know, their illicit feelings for each other, which won't go down well with the dude she's supposed to marry. But there you go. Helen is desperately struggling to control the demands of her double life, but then an old enemy arrives in Bath bringing death and deceit. Just what she needed. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This came in November's Fairy Loot. It has fancy sprayed edges. In this book, humanity has been defeated, crushed, and driven close to extinction. The remnants of humanity are now trapped on this planet that's constantly being attacked by starfighters. Spencer is a teen girl, she's living among them and she has long dreamed of being a pilot, and when she discovers the wreckage of an ancient ship, she discovers her dream might be possible, as long as she can repair the ship, navigate flight school, and persuade the strange machine to help her because it appears it has a soul. I also got to pick up a copy of Fairy Tale Battle Royale. This is about a girl who's bullied at school. She gets offered a contract for one wish, and in exchange she has to go into this strangely familiar world populated by fairy tale characters that, you know, have to fight to the death. The Sigh of the Dead, which is one of the autumn manga that I was most excited about. Basically, Marie Antoinette is on her way to Versailles to get married, but her convoy is attacked by zombies, she dies, and her twin brother Albert decides to take her place. Hino Agar Crush. This is actually the sequel to Akame ga Kill, which I didn't realise before I picked it up, and you know, read it. We are now on the island of Wakoku. There's a civil war going on. Anyone can be a soldier, anyone can get great achievements, and so on and so forth. And Akame washes up there and meets Hinoa, who is determined to put an end to these war-torn times. And I also picked up the final volume of Yoki Rental Shop, which I'm excited to see how it's going to end. It's had a great pace and it's been a lot of fun. Our main character finds out he has a brother. He goes to visit him at the pet shop that he owns and works at, and finds out that there is a little side to the business involving Yoki where he rents them out to people, and all they have to do is do a blood contract in order for that to happen. That was a lot of books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favourite purchase of October or November was. I will link all of my social media down below. For more similar content, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next video.